This melody can be sung to the Psalm number 30 that King David wrote, which King Solomon sang on the day of the dedication of the temple. When Solomon had finished the temple and built it, and all the people were there for the dedication, waiting for the divine presence, the glory of God to be revealed, the prayers were not answered. And Solomon prayed again, and all the people prayed, but the prayers were not answered, and the glory of God was not revealed. And then Solomon sang this psalm with the orchestra by his father, King David, saying that, please, God, with the merit of my father, King David, who wrote this psalm, this song, please let your glory shine forth from Jerusalem to all of the world. In the times of the Second Temple, 2,000 years ago, it says in the Talmud that the priests that worked in the temple had a flute from the times of Moses. It was called Abuvo Shel Moshe, the oboe of Moses. Oboe at that time meant flute. The word abuv comes from the fact that it has holes in it. Now, this flute was very simple. It said it was made out of a reed. It was some kind of a simple wooden flute like this one. It didn't have mechanisms, and it was not silver, it was not gold. Now, the offerings and the ceremonies at the temple were extremely elaborate and very splendid. The temple itself was the result of the entire contribution of all of the wealth and the beauty and the talent of the nation. The very walls were made of gold. All the vessels were solid gold. The trumpets were made out of silver. The priestly vestments had diamonds and gems on them. And the flute was used at the climax of the ceremony. The whole day was spent with these beautiful, splendid ceremonies, accepting the offerings of the people and the blessings of the priests. And finally, it would all be piled up on the altar, and the people would await the divine presence, the holy fire from above, the glory of God to come and accept the offering. And the last thing that was done, after everything else, after the choir had sung and the trumpets had blown, the fanfare, and all the beautiful things had been done, the final stage was the playing of the simple flute. The reason was, the flute was considered to be the sweetest, the sweetening of the offering. Like after a meal we have dessert. So it's like offering a whole offering to God, and the final stage of it is the sweet sound of the flute. And as the last sweetness of the flute would fade away, the heavens, so to speak, would open spiritually, and the people would actually see a lion of fire, an angelic revelation of a lion of fire come and devour the offerings. Now that moment was so high, it was such a high spiritual climax, that the priest said, listen, of all the vessels of this temple are made of gold and covered in gold and with diamonds and gems. How can it be that the final crowning moment is done with such a simple reed flute? It simply does not appear appropriate to us. So they got together and discussed it, and they decided that improvements must be made. We've got to upgrade the flute. So they called artisans from Alexandria in Egypt, the master artisans of Egypt. And they came to Jerusalem, and they took the flute into their care, and they covered it with gold. And then they put beautiful engravings, very fine, gorgeous engravings of all kinds of mystical letters and beautiful things. And then they covered it with gems, so that when you would look at the flute, it would shine. It was blinding with light. But when it came time for that moment to hear the sweetness of the flute, when they played it, didn't work, didn't sound good. It lost all of its sweetness. Because with all that gold and all that heavy metal, the simplicity of the wood got lost. So the priests got together and said, look, I think we made a mistake here. So they called the artisans from Alexandria, and they came back and they carefully removed all of the diamonds and gems. They removed all of the gold, and it was left nothing but the original flute that Moses had had. And then it came time, and the sweetness returned. The moral of the story? Sometimes simple is better.